Next week will mark 60 years since the assassination of President John F. Kennedy.
In our From the Archives report this afternoon, we're going back to 2013, marking the 50th anniversary. Take a look.
Some 350,000 visitors expected this year inside this iconic piece of history, the old Texas School Book Depository. On the 6th floor, pages of history flood visitors' senses. Stephen Fagan, one of those visitors in the museum's infancy.
We visited the 6th floor museum the week it opened in 1989, and I was very drawn to the emotionally charged space and the sense of history that permeates Dealey Plaza.
Fagan, so drawn to what happened that day in Dallas, was moved to satiate his passion by writing this book, Assassination and Commemoration. The book chronicles the feel in Dallas at the time of Kennedy's Texas visit.
Of course, Kennedy lost Dallas by the largest margin of any city in the United States during the 1960 presidential election, so he was fully aware of the political atmosphere in Dallas.
Fagan points to small but vocal groups who helped paint a much darker image of Texas' dislike toward the White House.
They demonstrated, they marred political rallies, they accosted dignitaries. Lyndon Johnson and his wife Lady Bird were accosted here in Dallas in the last days of the 1960 presidential election, and then less than a month before the assassination, the United Nations ambassador Adlai Stevenson was hit on the head and spit on.
But on that clear November day, the so-called fringe element far outpaced by the majority of Dallasites.
It is worth noting that about half the population of Dallas, about 200,000 people, turned out to see the president that day, and his visit was shaping up to be a huge success. Thousands of people greeting him at the airport, throngs of supporters along the route, some in the canyon of Main Street, 8 or 9 people deep, pouring out into the street.
Ironically, at the end of the parade route in Dealey Plaza is where destiny left its deepest wound.
So in the aftermath of the president's death, there was this sort of global collective sigh. Oh, Dallas. That's where things like this happen. The idea being that Dallas created a toxic environment that enabled the president to be killed here.
For a time, it appeared the collective conscience of the nation frowned on anything south of the Red River.
Long-distance telephone calls from Dallas disconnected deliberately, or rocks thrown at cars with Texas license plates. I think the most revealing story was a young woman I talked to who was a Dallas schoolgirl in 1963, and she received a Christmas card that December from an East Coast relative that arrived to her door, and it wasn't addressed to Dallas, it was addressed to "Shame on you, Texas."
Even the old book depository viewed as a scar marring downtown.
In the aftermath of the assassination, many in the Dallas community who were ashamed and frustrated by the attention that Dealey Plaza received turned to this building and saw it as a manifestation of evil.
The old depository survived the wrecking ball, even 2 arson attempts. Finally, Dallas County cements its future by putting its name on the front of the building.
The county's government in part run downstairs. The museum with new exhibits like Detective Jim Lavelle's suit he wore when handcuffed to Lee Harvey Oswald and Ruby's signature hat upstairs. Chapters in a city's journey that have this native Dallasite's admiration growing each time he opens its doors.
I think this building stands as a concrete representation of how far Dallas has come on that journey from assassination to commemoration.
And that was KETK's former anchor Bob Burkeen sharing that story from 2013. All right, coming up in our second half hour, the government